Welcome to another episode of the Renewable Energy Movement podcast, this time in person. I'm not sure if this will be the first in-person podcast that we release. I've got a couple while I'm here this week in Milan, but it's definitely the first one that I've recorded. Yeah, today we've got Luca Marini with us, who's the CEO of LIO Renewables and also LIO Data Centers.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me here, Tom. Like you said, I'm the CEO of LIO Infrastructure, who is an Italian-based investment holding. We've been around since 2009, and we focus on two things: renewable energy and data centers.
Yeah, which is two pretty big topics, I think, not only for us here at Kigo, of course, but also in the world. Like as ever, tell us about your early kind of career and journey into renewables or journey into infrastructure, if that's okay.
Yes, I mean, look, my family has been forever so long in renewables. My family has been in renewables since 2009. We've been primarily solar developers. Renewables are a bit of an on and off, right? Also depends a lot on opportunities, incentives, and it's kind of been an on and off love since 2009 for my family business. When I joined back my family business back in 2020, we reignited sort of this focus for renewables. As a holding, besides renewables and data centers, we do a lot of real estate, primarily hotels. Always on the development side. LIO is a development holding. We start from the ground up, from the very first kind of the basic layer of the economy, right? The land, the plot, or how people call it, the dirt. I don't like the word dirt. It makes it sound like that, but this is where we are from. This is what we understand, and this is very tangible things where you can create value, right? We believe there's a lot of value to be created in taking things from, people talk a lot about 0 to 1. I think there's a lot of value on the 0 to 0.2 kind of step, right? Because that's very micromanaging, that's very detailed, that's very dispersed. There's a lot of people with capital out there, right? But there's a lot of people that want the sort of pre-made, right? And so this is kind of what we do at LIO, right? We develop assets, right? We have 3 development companies: LIO Energy, LIO Data Center, and then LIO Real Estate. And for all of them, we start from the ground up, collate a bunch of opportunities, fix them, improve them, get all the right permits in place, and then either sell them off to an institutional investor or co-invest with them for the so-called construction phase, or people call it the vertical phase. We specialize in the horizontal, and then for the vertical, we either are out or we are co-investors in the part. That's what we do. And since 2020, we've done a big push first on renewables. We have a fantastic team here, very, very technical. You have to be technical infrastructure, otherwise you're out, right? We have a very big team focused on renewables, and then more recently, since 2022, we have added data center to the mix.
And how did that come about? Did it organically come about from the fact that you are primarily looking to acquire land, and then essentially the options for data center came up?
The real answer is we like to see how the movie unfolds in other markets. I was thinking that Italy is not. Italy has another pros. Yeah, but generally speaking, things that happen somewhere else in Northern Europe will happen later on in Italy, and even more so across the pond. So we love to always try to keep an alert eye on what's happening, what's going on in the US, right? Or in Northern Europe, yeah. And we started seeing this big data center wave coming into 2021, right? And we said, so let's say what kind of role, very, very organically, what kind of role we play at there, right? We have the Italian market, we have the capital to invest, maybe probably not to the scale that the data center business is required. Eventually, we said we need to leverage great for our strengths, right? Our strengths is we understand the grid. We've been around since 2009 doing that, so we understand the grid. We have the contacts with the high voltage and medium voltage providers. It was great at source of land. And so we started organically as an independent division in the data center that. And as the months went by, we realized more good for us, but we realized that the digital revolution and the energy of transition, right? The digital transition that's happening everywhere, and the energy transition that is happening kind of everywhere are very much symbiotic and intertwined. Yeah. Right? This big event talks about AI, right? But power feeds the AI revolution, right? But it's also its greatest asset. The need for power, and the need for always having more power, especially with grids that are not built for today's setup, but they're built for yesterday or the day before. So the need to to have power, we need to complement the grids with alternatives, right, behind the solutions. Really makes it very clear that digital and renewables are going to be two revolutions that are going to go at it, right? And these are the scale at which the AI revolution is happening has never been seen for decades, decades and centuries, right? If you think about the major infrastructure developments that are happening in the world, things like marine roads or electricity, right? And now AI is with that kind of mad, right? So to go back to your point, we started organic and then we realized about it. So today the REM market of LIO as kind of the only data center developer with embedded renewable energy capabilities in Italy. Why do I stress the embedded? Is because, the 2025 today, everyone's talking about the need for, embed really thick data centers power first. Yeah. Right? It took 2 years ago, people would just think, let's just connect to the grid and turn the party on. These are alternatives, right? Let's plug it on and could be turn the music up ready to print on it, right? And we realized the day one that we were the only ones in Italy that, we were learning about data centers, didn't know much about that, but we were taught about renewables and about the grid. Yeah. And we could really bring that to the cloud, right? So the customers, the partners that have come with us, right? They all have come to us to buy data center plots, buy it, then they need a solution, right? It's a PV battery storage. So it makes us really happy that we are able to, even call it bundle, say you are building an ecosystem, because I think, again, looking at where the world is headed in the US, right? US is no longer talking about renewables. They're talking about disconnecting from the grid. They're talking about nuclear. They're talking about hydrogen. And I think for me, that's the answer is go where maybe Europe will never get. I call it phase 3. There's a phase 1 with data centers, which is just plug into the grid, like I said, party is on, and maybe with a slight twist of Clabio and put a PPA area, which is just a wrapper, right? Or as I say, PPAs are just a way to pay someone else to wash your goods, yeah, right? They're not really, I was not hitting on PPAs here, but, and I love them, but they aren't really creative here. Think about the center. Phase 1 is just plumb on the grid, turn the party over with a wrapper or without a wrapper. Phase 2, plug to the grid, a complemented creative ecosystem, right? Would be the solution. Solar, battery storage, industrial PV, right? Everybody has a this station. Yeah. Right. Or they will direct you to a partner that will do something maybe, right? When you come to us, Twin Stop Shock, you can find the ecosystem. And that's really what I think I wanted to explain. That this is why we are really building our infrastructure verticals. What was what cheap,
Yeah, I know you reference a stage spot out there, which is almost on a different planet in the Mercury eco. So it's a potential capability around the data centers and the infrastructure around there. And where did you Italy compare actually with the rest of Europe or other places in Northern Europe and on this topic in particular?
Look, every market has its pros and cons, right? And Italy is great. We are also riding the fact that the last 2 or 3 years, Italy has become substantially more and more of the way, right? Italy leverages, 3 simple things, I think. One, that the orphan markets are either crumbed from an electricity perspective or from a land point of view, while all the major markets. Take away Scandinavia. Scandinavia is probably the leader in terms of opportunity, right? So Scandinavia is the higher Devon of the Great, Maria up to the, all the specs. When you think about the so-called flat T, right? The big Frankfurt, London, Amsterdam, Paris, Dublin, right? All of them are either clogged from a land perspective or clogged from an electricity perspective. Yeah. That's one thing, right? Number 2, Italy is the market in Europe with the largest, highest number of submarine cables, right? So Italy is really seen as a gateway, right? From Europe to Africa to Asia, right? Especially in the context where bringing data by land, it's not going to happen so often, right? Given all the tensions that are in the Middle East or even Russia and Ukraine, I don't think you're going to drive a cable for a few decades through those areas, right? So the vast majority of the traffic is going to be underwater. Italy can play it fantastic role there. And but that's the second thing. The third thing is we have a great grid. We have a good not great, because like I said before, grids were built for a different type of uses. But when I talk to a lot of the CEOs of the big callers, the hyperscalers, most of them agree that turning is a better breed than your French counterpart, the German counterpart, and the English counterpart. English is probably very, very messed up, right? And I am talking in terms of reliability of the connection and transparency of the actual processes. We have seen what data centers done to the US GDP. Yep. And we've listed a lot of chances in Italy to really be up to speed with the new trends and in what is happening in the global economy. And so I'm excited to see that the government, is very positive on that, and hopefully is a good addition for a country that's necessarily opposed, to be fair.
Yeah. You mentioned it quite 10 minutes ago. That's, you've always taken a view where you look to places in Northern Europe and kind of follow trends, things like that. And I think with renewable, that's certainly the case. In many ways, you relate it to the market.
Yes.
With data centers, there seems to be a key shift in that. Like that. You mentioned that you want to stop shop, but there's numerous data center companies that are focusing on Italy as one of their biggest markets, just in Europe.
That's incredibly exciting, and we like I said, we really, really hope that everything holds together. For example, we've seen some contrasting signs from the Spanish grid. I think there are 2030 grid planning came out a few days ago, proposed with which only supposedly allows, I think it's 350 or 400 megawatts per year of capacity of data centers. But here is the point, right? It's going to come today or tomorrow for everyone that these grids cannot sustain.
Yeah.
This is where we have to really drive renewable forward to complement the kind of hunger that those data centers require. And I think the other thing that also people underestimate is there's going to be a lot of DeepSeek moments in the next 2 or 3 years. By DeepSeek moment, I mean optimizations in what you can deliver with the fix. What you can deliver with a rack, what you can deliver with a square meter in terms of computing power, right? And that's going to help us as well. We're going to be able to test technology, test the software. We're going to be able to do more with less. And so even with the brick being what it is, if we do a lot of the right push on renewables, I think we can go very far.
Yeah. You're just taking it back a little bit now. We covered along the present situation, but going back to 2009, I think you said it was. That's when the family did this first starting to renew. Yes. What are the landscape of the Italian renewable sector look like this?
We started from the very kind of often, right? Yeah, we started closing little megawatt deals on the Adriatic. There was lots of incentives. The government was supporting a lot these type of activities. It was very well, which is also probably the reason why we made it through, right? Because if the food chain was the food chain that you had today, maybe we wouldn't have been able to make it through, right? And I see the ability for us since day one was to be relevant to everyone, right? We want to be relevant. You have, by relevant, means respected. Yeah. Respected, friend. You have to be friends of the guy with the agricultural plot, but also the guy in the board. Because ultimately, if you don't do one or either, you're not going to either raise one or sell the projects. And if you're not friends with the other guy, in cash up with a suit and be able to go to Puglia or Sicily and say, hey, you're right to sell something. Sometimes we do video calls with our partners, and they are like really in the fields. They're on tractor or something, right? Then they had a call down to the team, and the guy is on a tractor. So we have to be. Renewables is a fascinating space. It's really a two-sided platform, right? Because on the one hand, you have a bunch of investors, they don't have time to search and go in the new shots projects. And on the other hand, we have a whole bunch of people that I want to love the land, that entrust you, right, to give you the land. But if you don't, it's like methods, right? If you you have a lot of people coming to watch the movies. Yeah, if there is no movies, you're not going to watch anything. And if there is a lot of movies, but no one is watching that, the movies are going to go away. Yeah, that's exactly what happens in the New York. So on the one hand, you have a lot of people with a lot of plots. On the other hand, you have a lot of investors.
Some of the examples you just mentioned, if you find someone like Matratto in Puglia, like, they're only getting on by talk to an Italian though. How do you manage to navigate that?
Absolutely. Look, there is a lot of big local for a referee perspective, creating empathy with your counterpart. There is no better way to do business, right? Ultimately, people want to do business with people that generate cash for them, but they are much more inclined to open up the conversation to someone that they feel attached to, right? Whether that's, nationality, language, perspective. Even now, we see some foreign counterparts that show up. They expect to talk to the Italian developer, and there is no Italian. And they will, this guy doesn't speak your language. What are you going to do? But so from a recruiting perspective, yes, you have to be local. You have to hire at all different stages. But you also have, we try hard to create a different vibe here in LIO to retain, because in renewables, there's a lot of very skilled people in the field. And, on the development side, and the construction side, the procurement side, but there also started these giant behemoths, developers, or retail companies that, but then there's a lot of competitors here that are like the minister of, XYZ, right? It's like we walk into a state industry, right? Yes. And, there is 5 layers of hierarchy. If you wanted to print something, you have less the boss who's going to give you that's just this to that to that. There's a lot of people that can blossom, right? LIO, we try to build leaner teams, with people that can blossom and hopefully also can grow fast. I'm very surprised. The quality of the quality people we find in renewables is very, very high compared to other sectors that we have worked in the past. It's very typical.
Yeah. No, I think the quality is good. The piece around like attracting and then retaining, which has become challenging. I imagine over the past 10 to 15 years, it's gotten easier on our end. But yeah, I think that's the tricky side of the market.
Yeah, and I think we try to build a different model, right? The agility, right, of an entrepreneurial business with the capital of, kind of not the biggest folks, right? But the, mid-tech, right? Generally, right? The agility of a Champions League team with the capital of a board, right? You're still Premier League, but you're not the very big guys. The top 10, I understand.
And then how do you see that translating into the growth of your data center business?
So there was when we built our energy business, there was a lot of things out there, a lot of alternatives in terms of, there was other people doing renewable energy, right? We try to conceptualize a new model where it be kind of, linear or entrepreneurial, lots of opportunities. Data centers, there were no. So, right, today there are Korean 5-7 other digital data center developers in Italy, most of which are real estate developers that converted a portion of the business, but the expertise was not there. So there was more of a building the competencies ourselves, looking at other markets, speaking to other developers in other markets that were more advanced. Yeah, as I said, always the same thing. Look at the movies over us. It's already happened, right? And so it's been more about us building the competencies of the house rather than acquiring an assembly. Yeah. But just to be clear, the pool of talent is the same, right? Your electrical engineer from the Polytechnico di Milano with 2 years experience in a renewables company can work for our renewables because they want a data center, right? What we want in both is to be tech, right? I'm a tech, right? I'm not technical. I do another type of the job. I need the relationship, the building, the kind of C-level interaction, but I want everybody else that are in my war chest, they need to be really freaking technical. So the pool is the same for you, for everybody, right? The pool of the STEM pool, the STEM pool is the same.
I think what you will see is that the recruitment around data centers and infrastructure data centers will go, like you say, to engineers with renewable experience, to planners with renewable experience.
Exactly. I think that this is what gets me up in the morning, gets me excited.
So I think that takes us over nicely, Luca. I wanted to ask, I was really keen to ask, is your business operations only focused on Italy, or do you have any aspirations to grow into other countries? What's the set?
Well, like I said, with LIO, the ambition, right, is to create these development platforms, right, to bring foreign capital to invest in Italy, right? So whether it's renewables, data centers, or real estate, our goal is to bring foreign capital to invest in Italy. That said, we are very Italy specific. We're very Italy specific because we believe there is an edge for us here that is difficult to replicate elsewhere without a strong local partner. I think there are better Lucas sourcing the same type of projects in France, in Croatia, in Spain, you name it, right? And there is, well, we are helped by the fact there is a long leeway in Italy, right? I think there's a long runway, not leeway. There is a long runway in Italy for the digital and the energy transition. So there's still a long way to go, and every extra hour put in Italy has a very strong return for us. But if we were to ever do something outside, it will have to be with partnering with someone local very strong, because we can't replicate the understanding of the market, the quality on sourcing, the relationship, the grid first and foremost, but also all the ministries for approvals. We can't replicate. I'm not going to be some developer who just searches on Google or ChatGPT what to do when in France.
It goes back to the topic we covered about before, isn't it? About having coordinators to have a real kind of local grasp of the market, and for you to expand that to different countries, you almost you got to say another you or another.
Correct. I think there's specialization because it's competitive out there. Let's face it, right? We are not a big player, right? We are an up and coming, investment holding. We do everything with our own capital. We try to, make fewer but better things. We like this concept a lot, LIO. Fewer but better things. Yeah, we think there's a lot of spray and pray out there. There's a lot of people just dumping money on and hoping something will stick. There is a certain sense of discipline in doing few things and doing them with your own money. And there's a sense of respect, obviously, for the money, for the hard work. My grandfather was working in the fields. We went to college. My father was the first person in my family who ever went to college, right? Like there's a sense of respect for the money, but also there is a focus, right? It's so freaking competitive out there that if we had 50 projects, then you could not potentially put the right time of attention. So we really believe it's a thing we talk a lot. We have it actually written in the office. We say fewer but better. It translates good in English. Fewer but better things.
Like in the last, the reason I'm smiling is just come from a customer meeting at the other side of town, and I was explaining to him that my goal for next year is to have less customers, and it was something he was struggling to understand at first. But the idea is part of that a little bit deeper and part of having more creative ways with customers that we already support. Which to stop us running so much, trying to help everyone.
It's more sticky, right? It's more sticky because a little bit with everybody, then you are open to
a lot.
In your business, right? In your business. So I'm not trying to flip the podcast here, right? But to be sticky on a customer means to go deeper, to create intrinsic value that goes beyond one single one-off transaction, and that makes you more sticky with the account and embedded for the long term as a partner rather than there's a thing. One thing is service provider, one thing is partner, right? And that lasts 10 years. Partner lasts 10 years.
More about it, like you say, the longer term service and providing solutions than just like the one file possibly or cool. But cool. And then other thing I really wanted to get into is your kind of presence on LinkedIn and your social media presence. It's something that I feel quite passionate about personally. But I think, see a lot of your good work on LinkedIn. I wanted to kind of ask you about that. Really, how did it come about? Why did it come about?
Well, it's all finalized, right? To push LIO, right? Ultimately, to push LIO Energy, to push LIO Data Centers. It's all organic. It's done by myself. The idea is that I realized that I had quite a big network not only related to data centers, but in my previous different lives, for example, I did a lot of recruiting. I saw, lots of candidates that are there. I realized it started from a base of about 20,000 followers. And from that base, I never kind of pushed any content out there. And I started thinking what people want. Why do people use LinkedIn, right? People use LinkedIn as certainly to find jobs, right? But people log in more frequently than to find jobs, right? They log in as a distraction from work, to stay up to date with what's happening with their network. So, i.e. read with their industry, and to try and spot, interesting ideas. There's also an argument of, I wonder what these other guys are doing. So for my content, I said, we're going to have to, it's going to be around giving back content that is investor ready about the two verticals that we focus on. So, and I focus on at least, energy and data center. And so there's a lot around posting graphs with reports, right? So people have a snapshot of what the report contains, but then they can go deeper and dig around the report. There is a lot of interviews, trying to pick out in the interview. I find this important. I try to pick out the important part in the interview, because no one wants to, unless it's a really, really important interview, no one has time. We have to start from we have to catch the attention of someone on LinkedIn. We probably have between 0 and 3 seconds. I'm going to guess, right? And so the content that we have needs to be short, snappy, and engaging for the person to be hooked. And then if they want to see more, they can see more. But I've been still playing. I'm still learning. I'm by no means a professional in this, but my learning has been that the time of the attention span is very short, which is good for someone like with me, who has ADHD. So it's perfect. But that's the logic. I think trying to make it really snappy and on real content that they can take home, tell a colleague, tell a boss, right? So I try to drop in graphs, figures, stats that they can go and, whether they want to show off at the dinner table, whether they want to ask around their boss, what does he think of it? But it's not about memes. It's not about people, just typing endless words or feelings, like long letters of content. Right? It needs to be snappy, short, and hopefully you give something good about that industry. And the feedback has been positive. And sometimes you also try to push your company in there, because why not, right?
Yeah. Do you have a target in terms of like an audience you want to attract?
No, so I thought about that, right? And I was having this discussion with someone else who was posting, right? And he was like, "Well, I only try to post for C-level executives." And I said, "Well, how many C-level executives do you think you have in your?" Do a Venn diagram of how many C-level executives you have in your network are going to log in and actually are going to read your post. I don't think that many. You need to post for everyone in your network, right? Everyone, whether it's an analyst, whether it's a head of marketing,
whether it's the CEO. Because the beauty of LinkedIn is people see the interactions of people that are shown. So if I can get to 10 people at Investor X or 10 people at Renewable Company Y, and they all like my course, that's a win, because each of them are going to show it, is going to appeal on their colleagues, and somehow is going to permeate through the cop, right? If you try to make things too sophisticated, you're not going to get the saturate. It's about this, it's more democratic than trying to be uber focused about, that's my view.
Yeah, I think once you then do grab their attention in that first, wherever it might be, second or 2 seconds, and people, press read more and they decide to read the rest of your piece, I think you're also gaining a respect from a person next time. For example, I find your content really interesting. You will read, and I will now read, even if I don't find the initial part so interesting, I'll probably still read it, because, in the past, I'm putting the interesting things. What? Yeah.
It's good, I think, to for your business, for my business, it's good to try and do some self promotion.
Yeah.
But with the angle of actually giving something out to your audience, right? Because if I was only to post about, hey, look at this data center plots. Yeah, what do you think about it? Right. First of all, that's not going to sound very premium, but realistically, people that are too bushy, there is a lot of vendors out there, like in any fair and other things. And no one wants to give you anything. They just want to take something for you. And I think with that logic in mind, if you can create some genuine interaction with the ecosystem, right, renewables, data centers, and then people will notice the good things. That, well, if you do the things, the tide will push you in the right direction.
Yeah. And you trunk customers today will be like, is rather try up all sorts of red. So how do you ensure is the fights are full? What's your phasm?
Well, if there's a good report, I will use it. If there's a report that I really think is good, yeah, I will reuse it 4 or 5 times, 3 or 4 times. It was in a different graph over there. So there is a 10-page report from example, a 10-page report from McKinsey or Blastum or the European Association for Energy or whatever, right? And it's a 30-page report or 20-page report, 10-page report. I read it. I picked out which are the 2 or 3 main graphs. Every, over the course of 3 weeks, I'm going to post that thing 3 times with a different angle, right? There'll be this, we're talking about this graph and we'll comment this graph. By the way, the full report is here, right? That's, first of all, look, if I really believe that record is good, I want to do it to people, but also it allows you to extend my runway of content. And because my content is only about the graphs, it doesn't say go read the report. People don't really mind. Not many people will go second or third level on their content, but everyone will look at that graph, right?
That makes sense.
I think, even though it's not your primary aim, business will kind of yield from that.
Yeah, it does. It does. Yield business or good conversations. I think that's something I want to focus on as a side thing, but it's been a good traction for LIO.
Yeah, great. And I suppose getting towards wrapping things up or getting toward the end, I always like to ask a few questions about the future of renewables and the future of data centers, even more interestingly in this case. It's very difficult to do, but give me, what your thoughts might be for the next couple of years. Particularly, let's start with the world of data centers. Yeah.
Prediction. A change is happening fast and will never be this slow again, right? It's kind of crazy to think where we started and where it's headed. Predictions, I think this is the new industrial revolutions. It's going to change and we have no idea in which direction, but the world is going to revolve around that, right? Like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you used to locate yourself next to highways because it was good to put your logistics center there, right? Now companies are going to locate around next to data centers because then the companies of tomorrow, the AI companies of tomorrow, the one with the 10th of the employees, right? And the agents doing things and the robots doing that and the automated vehicles running around that town, all of these guys are going to need data centers, right? And so a lot of people have understood it, right? And so if there are you can see that everyone is picking up on this because the markets are no longer ignited by the economy or a business. What I mean by that is certain markets, like, the US, a prime example, UK, even Italy, there's a rationale in going there, right? There's a lot of, for cloud, there's a lot of businesses for AI, there are some, but some sovereign angles are figured out, and you can say, look at what Middle East is doing, right? But even Argentina the other day with Stargate announcement, right? Some sovereign governments are realizing that they have to. It's either or, right? To ignite the data center market, you either come from the economy angle, or you actually have to artificially push it and pump it up, and become that ecosystem for the region, right? This is what's happening in the Middle East, right? Saudi Arabia, just today, Saudi Arabia is deflecting a big portion of their NEOM investment. Remember the NEOM, the longs, right? They're deflecting most of their investment to AI, right? They have realized with Saudi Arabia that they are going to be the nexus of that region where companies are going to want to relocate. And so my prediction is that, the world will need to be powered more and more by data centers, right? And the people that will win are the people that have the power, not an infrastructure, but no matter where they are located. I think we're going to start going for power even further away and that's not the grid, right? That's not only the grid. And so things like renewable, we have some ambitious targets all over Europe that are unlikely to be reached at this pace, but we need to get every help we can from government, and we need to clear out. This is true for data center. This is true for the renewables. We need to clear out every non-serious people from the supply chain. There is a lot of intermediary of the intermediary that tries to sell you the project of the project of the project. A funny story, right? Someone one day tried to sell me my own project.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, and without knowing that it was mine, right? It's like, oh, there's a really great renewables project. You may want to get into it. And then I was like,
sounds familiar.
Right? And it was because it was a broker who the project was anonymized and then passed around, and eventually came up to me and said, well, this is my project. What do you want from me? I already asked. No, but that's to say that whenever there are margins, right, and infrastructure has the margins to sustain different levels of kind of intermediaries, we need to be fast. This is a race. There is no joking around. And so we need maximum support for government, but also everyone that is taking power that is not serious about using it, we have to be more stringent. This goes back to the differences between countries. But in the UK, it's much harder to get power, and you get penalized a lot more if you don't use it. In southern economies, it's just the opposite. It's much easier to get access to power, and then there's nothing really happens if you only use a fifth of it. Well, obviously, the other one goes back in the grid, but there is no real fine. Spain and Italy are moving in that direction because there's a lot of, we call it phantom connections. There is a lot of phantom connections in Italy. People that have just made a request, but they will never build a data center. They will never use it for anything real. And so that thing needs to be cleared up, because this is a transformation that we need every bit of power.
And then what are the blockers? Because, even from a renewable standpoint, you hear so much about grid and grid not being able to cope. But then when we're talking about what kind of revolution this kind of data center piece might bring in 15, 20 years, it comes into my head is like, well, how will the grid cope with that? How will we,
Grid is making investments, right? The problem is the pace at which we want. The problem is twofold. Every grid is making investments. To Terna, fantastic, right? They're making bold, big investment plans. The problem is not only that the grid is not set up for this. The problem is everyone wants the connections in the same place, right? And that just exacerbates, right? Everyone wants 100 megs in Milan. No one wants 100 megs in Naples. And that puts extra strain on the grid. This is why renewables are going to be so key. This is why secure for a data center to say, any solar project that is attached to a long-term contract with a data center just spikes in value, right? Because these guys are going to use it more and more. We have to. In the end, for many of the customers, at least it won't matter. Many of the money that will flow into markets, it won't matter if for them to invest in Italy or Spain, right? They just want to build successful returns on renewables or on data center projects. So for us, it's about, we have to create the best ecosystem for capital to come. And capital is not Italian capital, right? Capital is your, pension funds, your big investment funds. For them, they don't have a mandate. My mandate is to build LIO, and my mandate is to bring Italy on the map and have foreign capital come in. For foreign capital, they couldn't care less if they go to France or Spain, or they're gonna go where the best ecosystem is. That best ecosystem means best projects, best government setup, and best kind of underlying infrastructure on which to build on, right?
Yeah. And what about LIO? What's next for LIO? How do you see the future panning out in the next couple of years?
Hey, for LIO, we have 3 great platforms, right? Real estate, data centers, renewables. The future is, the road is out there, is available, right? We have to do, I said, fewer but better things. These are the few things we do. We don't want to do anymore, right? But we want to do them better. Right? So it's more projects, hire more talented people, and scale faster, right? And for us, every time we bring capital to Italy, foreign capital it's a win. Because face it, right? A lot of people want to invest in Italy, but it's complicated, right? It doesn't have the ease of doing business that many other markets are, and you require a lot of local partners for everything. So for us, our mandate is to bring capital to Italy, and for the next 2 or 3 years, we want to do it across those 3 verticals, because fewer, better things. No, this is it, right? If I came to you every time and said, well, tomorrow we're doing, I don't know, semiconductors. The other day, hey, but we're also starting a restaurant chain, right? You're not going to believe that the focus is there. So for us, the focus is this.
No, I totally agree. And yeah, thanks so much for coming on. I've really enjoyed it. We'll continue to watch your journey, or stay close to your journey. I'll put Luca's links in the descriptions and everything, so you can follow his social media accounts and things like that. And we might have had a few technical issues during the recording, so apologies for the sound if that is the case. But yeah, thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Tom. Thank you very much.